Welcome to the Logistics Point interviews. I'm joined by Lyall Cresswell, who is the founder and CEO of Transport Exchange Group. And we're talking about prices of the road transport services and how this is affecting the economy and the sector as a whole. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, Nick. It's good to be here.
So I just mentioned prices. Everything is going up. How do you think that this is affecting the economy as a whole?
Interestingly enough, when we look at what road transport prices are doing here in the UK, clearly, as we've said, everything, all the key elements that make up that cost base are in short supply and going up in price, sometimes pretty dramatically. So we're all familiar with the fuel price rises, wages as a whole, as we know, here in the UK and pretty much across the Western world are increasing significantly. Some of that, or a lot of that, down to supply and demand, but also here in the UK we've had the recent impacts of government taxes going up as well, direct as well as indirect taxes. Truck prices and manufacturing of those, not only have they gone up in price, but also there's a scarcity of demand, or scarcity of supply, sorry, should I say, with very, very long waiting times, and the second-hand and used truck market has marched in lockstep with that. So all of the input costs are going up. I mean, that much is readily apparent. And I was looking at it this morning, and I see that actually, whereas we would normally get to a higher level, typically around Easter, post-Easter, it seems to be about 2 months ahead of that this year. So that's one of the kind of patterns and our interpretation of that at the current time. The comparison with 2020 does become quite difficult because we're not really comparing like for like.
Speaking of cost of living, the fact that people had more money last year, should we be worried moving forward? What happens in the future?
We're going to carry on seeing considerable inflation, input inflation, especially in terms of wages and salaries. That's inevitable. We are still at historic lows as far as the labour market goes in terms of the balance between employed and unemployed percentages. Here in the UK, remember that we've got other pressures and other aspects to it which are pretty unique, especially with Brexit having disrupted the labour market, especially in transport and logistics. So conversely, let's see how long the war in the Ukraine goes on. Clearly, that's going to have a major impact. Market elasticity would actually suggest that rising costs should lead to a reduction in demand. Now, interestingly enough, in our platform, we haven't seen any reduction in demand so far. Now, I know it's only very early days as far as the true cost of living, coming through in terms of pressures that consumers are facing, with especially with gas and electric prices. Fuel prices have already been high now for 3 weeks. I guess that could actually be a good thing in the short term for haulage, if haulage is particularly stressed because of the other kind of well-known long-term issues that they face. Conversely, it could be bad in the longer term, because one of the things that has been good is that wages have actually finally started to move upwards, which of course has encouraged more drivers back into the industry over the past year.
When I listen to you, it sounds like we are sort of at a crossroad at the moment, and things can be good, but things can be bad. What is the sort of the overall feeling for you? Can we make it happen?
I think so, but remember, we're in a revolution in any case. So what's fantastic for me to see, having been close up, heavily involved in the industry from the perspective of Transport Exchange Group, from a digital platform for the last 21 years, is in the last 3 to 4 years, there has been an increased recognition of the value of our industry. More and more businesses are at heart driven by logistics, which was always seen as maybe a secondary activity, but now it's becoming a core part of many businesses, driven, of course, by digital behemoths like Amazon, who've made that such an essential part of the consumer experience, especially on-time availability, shelf availability, has been a must-have, and as inventories, of course, have got thinner, that's been problematic when we came up against black swan events such as COVID.
How can we make it so that people not only come, but as you said, they also stay?
Yes, I mean, it's a huge issue. I mean, we talked about it at the start of our chat. So the infrastructure in the UK has to improve compared to other countries, especially on the continent. Facilities such as truck stops are relatively poorly provisioned. We're a very densely populated country, so I think we have less space and we have higher land values potentially than other countries. So it makes it more and more difficult to do that. But there was an organisation, Talent and Logistics, carried out a survey in 2020, early 2020, and for the first time it was actually a survey of drivers rather than their managers. So that made it quite unique, I think. And that was then followed up. The Road Transport Industry Training Board then did another survey about what drivers, really digging into what drivers think about the various benefits which are available. And the outcome of that, interesting enough, was that health and insurance cover was the most attractive benefit to those drivers who were interviewed.
Do you think that technology will be something that will help attract more young people in the industry if it looks cool? Technology
in transport and logistics is now here. So there is a digital transformation. It's been going on kind of in the background for quite a while now, but it's very much to the forefront. And there's been a huge wave of investment in technology across the board. So if it's cool and it looks great, and that includes, by the way, the hardware, the trucks, and everything else, I think it does. I think it does improve the attractiveness and the profile of the industry.
Well, thank you very much for your time. And for everyone watching, you can learn more in the description down below. Thank you very much.